Hello, all you RAG podcast listeners. A little note from me before today's episode to alert you to the first ever RAG podcast live webinar. Hosted next week, Monday, the 20th of April at 2 p.m. I'm pulling together some pretty big names to talk all about why marketing should be the number one on the agenda for recruitment businesses everywhere to survive and thrive COVID-19. To do this, I'm pulling together Mark Gaisford, the founder of Red Sprout, the guy who was on my podcast season 2 and gets arguably the most engagement in the whole recruitment sector globally on his brand right now. We've got Billy Humphreys, who's the marketing manager at MRL Consulting Group, the guy behind the brand that went to the 4-day week and went viral and was on BBC News and all sorts. And Leo Harrison, a guy you might not have heard of, but actually unbelievable name. Leo was the COO of Oliver Agency, one of the world's largest and most recognized advertising agencies, and has since moved into our world as a recruitment business. And he's launched a company called Chapter 2, which is a talent advertising business. I've pulled these three together because I think they've got a blend of skills from recruitment and advertising and traditional marketing, plus me. And we're going to talk all about why recruitment businesses need marketing right now. I mean, the world has changed. Let's be frank. The last 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks has ripped through recruitment businesses everywhere. So many people have been furloughed. So many people have been let go. And what we've seen is recruitment businesses have shrank. Most agencies now have an owner and they've got a team, a very small select team of people that together have got the task of fighting this and making money throughout this process. And what that means is there's no room for anything else other than sales and marketing. And if you've just spent the last 20 years operating in a very similar one-dimensional way with phone calls and meetings, then now is the time more than ever that you need to start looking at your brand and how you can build audiences, connect people online, and add significant value. So when the bounce comes, you're going to be one of the agencies that people remember and want to use, and you can capitalize. So look, most episodes of the RAG Report are about me talking to other people and getting their views on things. This is my opportunity to talk about what I care about, which is marketing, right? So I want to help every single one of you. So you can register via the link attached to this post, to this episode. It's via Eventbrite. Click through there, register. It's free. I don't think we can fill capacity, so you can all get on there. And I'm really looking for everyone who listens to this podcast every single day to join me on Monday the 20th. This is the first of a bi-weekly series. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to launch a live webinar. It's going to be a consistent thing, but this is the first one. And we're going to give you so much value. We're going to get some real practical tips that you guys can listen to and then take and execute over the next few months in your recruitment businesses. So look, I don't know who every single one of you are that listens to this show. By turning up on Monday, I'll be able to see who you are, and it'll be a really good experience. We'll be open for Q&A. You can ask your questions. I want to bring this RAG community closer together, and it's starting next week. So Monday, the 20th, 2 p.m., do not miss it. But let's get back to the show. So without further ado, welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, where every single day right now, I'm bringing to you a recruitment owner, advisor, supplier from around the world who are prepared to give up some of their time to share some light on their experiences, their ideas, and how we can all beat the coronavirus. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Robin Doenicke. Robin is the CEO and founder of Zensho agency in Japan. I've met Robin via video like this about 12 months ago, and we've kept in touch. And he's got a really innovative business. And I want two things. I want to find out what's going on in Japan and learn from some of the things that he was already doing before this even hit. So, Robin, thanks for taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great to be speaking with you again.
Yeah, awesome. So, look, Robin, I don't know if I start every episode in the same light now, which is what the hell's going on for you? So tell us, just paint the picture where you are, what the hell's going on in your life right now.
Yeah, it's, I think Japan was one of the first markets to really get hit with this coronavirus. And so everyone was expecting the worst. And then what seems to be baffling a lot of experts is there hasn't been the massive spike in cases that you would expect, given that we're one of the first countries to be hit. And I think it was only really been in the last month or so when people here are starting to take it a little more seriously. But there's been no lockdown, there's been no shutdown. Transport, which, I mean, the train system here, the subway system, is really the arteries of this whole nation. And if the trains stop, the country stop. So nothing has stopped in terms of public transport. The trains are still packed every day, as you might expect. There are less people. Many companies, some of the big Japanese companies, are encouraging their people to work from home, but there's no mandate to do it. And, you know, if you go out on the street outside, go to the parks, I mean, they're still full of people. And, you know, it's funny that this whole social distancing thing, the Japanese have been practicing this their whole lives. I mean, it's a culture where you don't get too close to people physically. You're not hugging each other. It's not a very, not a lot of shaking hands going on. So I think in that regard, that has kind of helped stem perhaps the spread of this virus to some degree. You know, just, was it 2 days ago, a very famous Japanese comedian died from coronavirus. And that kind of shook the nation a little bit. And it's unfortunate it sometimes takes a celebrity or a big name to be affected for people to kind of, you know, wake up and pay attention. But so far, it's in terms of how people are acting, not much has changed, although the same kind of panic going on, people buying toilet paper and all of that kind of stuff like you see everywhere else. From a business perspective, yeah, look, we've been hit like every other recruitment firm in town. Many clients are on hiring freezes. What we have found is a lot of these clients are, you know, it's kind of being directed from head office in the States or in Europe or in the UK. And they're really mandating that all their offices worldwide, you know, freeze hiring. So we've shifted a little bit of our focus to some of these companies that have a bit more autonomy locally, where they might be part of a global network, but they have more local autonomy in terms of hiring and so on. And there are, of course, Japanese companies that are still hiring, but some of the big global clients that we work with are very active in their hiring processes. They're already set up to do video interviews and all of that kind of thing. So all our people have been affected to some degree, but we're really rallying behind each other and seeing if we can go deeper with the clients that we have already who are still very actively hiring. So
wow. So I mean, that's promising. I was expecting more of a bleak outlook than that. So you've cheered me up already. Well, can you give me, when did it first start to like become apparent? Because obviously where you're geographically situated, I imagine it was closer to China. Was it kind of late January, early February when this started becoming a proper concept? Yeah. Because I feel like we were very slow to that.
I think it was early January. And I say that because I remember I took my team to we did a retreat in the mountains of Nagano, it's winter. We're just coming out of winter now. January was the middle of winter. And so we did this, I don't know if you've heard of Wim Hof, this Dutch, the Iceman, they call it. Yeah, there's all this breathing and going in the icy lakes and so on. So we had this top instructor from Holland, and awesome. He took about 15 members of our team, and we went for 4 days into the mountains, and it was an amazing experience. But I mentioned that because on the way back, we had to take the bullet train there and back between Nagano and Tokyo. And I remember that's when we started hearing a lot about, look, we need to be careful on the train, make sure we're wearing masks and things like that. It's starting to spread more. We're hearing the news was starting to come out. So that was early January. And then there was a big spike in, well, the initial kind of cluster of cases was in the north of Japan, in a region called Hokkaido, where you get a lot of Australians and a lot of foreigners go there for skiing. And it seemed to be isolated there. And then we started hearing more about Tokyo. Once that what was it called, the Diamond Princess, that cruise liner was docked just north of Tokyo in Yokohama. That's where it started to really be a daily occurrence in the news. And then we started hearing more and more about how people were getting affected there. And then it was spreading throughout Tokyo. And then people started to take it a bit more seriously around February, I would say.
Wow. Well, where are you based in Tokyo?
Yeah, right in the center of Tokyo.
Yeah. So now, I still find that hard. So Tokyo is such a massive economy, a huge city, and it's still moving pretty normally.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how many people in Tokyo. I think it's 15 or something million or something like that in Tokyo. I mean, my train station, Shinagawa, it's called, in Tokyo, 3.5 million people go through that station every day. That's in the best of times. there's certainly not that many at the moment, but there's probably at least 1 million going through. It's still packed. I mean, rush hour here is still from 5:30 till last train, pretty much. It's just always packed. There's definitely less people on the streets. The nightlife, like if you go out to a restaurant or something, there's less people. People are trying to keep their distance from others a little bit. And the governor of Tokyo, Koike-san, she's been, really trying to encourage people not to go out at night, not to go to karaoke bars, not to go to dance clubs and restaurants and things like that. But interesting, I only heard this the other day. There's apparently something in the Japanese constitution which guarantees freedom of movement. And so what has been in the news recently is that it would be very difficult for the Japanese government to enforce any kind of lockdown. Because they couldn't have police on the street saying, get out of the park or go indoors, like I think they're doing in several other countries because of this in the constitution, which I don't know why Japan would be different from any other country, but apparently that makes it quite difficult to enforce anything here.
Wow, that sounds definitely different than I expected. But on a hiring side, in terms of Japanese businesses hiring locally, there's not been a huge impact. It's more about the influence of foreign overseas.
Yeah. We do work with some Japanese corporations, and of course we read and hear about the hiring practices of some of the big, famous Japanese corporations, the Toyotas, Nissans, and Sonys, and things like Panasonic and whatnot. And there are definitely, like April 1st is the beginning of the new year in Japan, and so that's typically the time when they bring in all the new graduates, hundreds of new university graduates to start their new careers. And a lot of this has been delayed or it's been interrupted because of what's going on. Graduation ceremonies from schools and universities have had to happen virtually and or not at all, or just with close family only and no other guests and things like that. So they are trying to minimize opportunities for people to gather in large groups together in any one place. But just last week, I had a group call with everyone in the company, and we have close to, 31 recruiters right now here in Tokyo. And I asked each of them for an honest assessment. Okay, what has the situation, how has this impacted your business? How many clients have stopped or delaying things, etc. And everyone's been affected. Everyone has a client that isn't hiring right now. But most people still have very active clients. And then we have some clients that really are big corporations. And then we're kind of putting teams together so we can more effectively make sure everyone has something to do and actually go deeper with some of the existing clients. So it's actually a really good situation for them and for us.
Just give us a brief overview of your model, because it's very different to 31 recruiters. Is not like your traditional agency of 31 recruiters. How have you managed it?
And only 2 years ago, actually 1.5 years ago, we had 11 recruiters, and in October 2016, we had 3. We're doing something very different. And in 2016, we completely changed our paradigm. Until that point, for the preceding 15 years maybe, we were just a legal recruitment firm, a very, very small niche player in the legal sector here in Japan, which is very, very niche. And we hovered anywhere between 2 and 4 recruiters for the first 15 years. I wanted to open up the business, and I was hearing a lot of frustration amongst senior recruiters in the market. People weren't loving the game anymore. They were just feeling a bit, I think it's just a bit jaded. The industry seemed to be becoming a bit more commoditized, and many great things with technology. It helps us all. But what I was sensing and hearing from a lot of people was that they were feeling a bit disempowered. It really was about the KPIs and how many resumes you're sending to a client and all of these types of things. And unfortunately, they still weren't being paid that much. They were getting on average anywhere from 25 to 40% commission. From the revenue they generated. And I just thought something had to change. And there really wasn't another option for these people. There was either stick with that or start your own thing. And I wanted to create a genuine third option, something that would really allow senior experienced recruiters to to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves, to be part of something, but still to be rewarded and empowered and have the freedom. The thing that we kept hearing from people was the lack of freedom to have, to take back control of their life, so to speak. And I got a lot of inspiration from the New York real estate brokerage industry, where I found some of the top brokerages were attracting the best agents. All those agents were independent contractors. All those agents received the lion's share of the revenue that they generated. And the brokerage would take on the task of, the making sure the platform was in place, taking care of all the marketing, all the operations, all the back office, coaching, all the whole thing, making sure that all they had to do was worry about developing the relationships with their clients and their candidates. And I thought, could this model work in Japan, and could this work in recruitment? Everyone told me no. But I thought, look, it had to. It was necessary. And I spent like a year, like a mad scientist, going through different comp plans, and finally had something I thought was ready to launch. And I went to my existing 2 employees at the time, who were both on 40 to 50% commission and a monthly salary, a monthly draw. And I said, look, we're going to expand the business into areas other than legal. And this is going to be the new compensation plan. If you guys want to stay on the old plan, you can be grandfathered in. They're like, screw that. We want to be on the new plan as well. So now we have 31 people on the new plan. And it was, everyone here, it's not for rookies, obviously. It's not for people who have no experience. I mean, if you don't make a deal, you don't get paid. So it's people who have a proven performance and I guess a confidence in their ability to make deals. That being said, we're not just a bunch of independent cowboys and cowgirls, just running around doing their own thing, sharing a brand. We are a very tight-knit team. The level of collaboration and communication and that goes on here is really quite inspiring, very, very energetic. And everyone here has done better in their first year with us than they had in their best year previously. So
what I'm interested in is, I'm interested in the operation in terms of how they work, because actually you were already working in a way that's seamless now, and whatever happens with COVID-19, it's not really going to affect you, is it? So how was the operation? How did you set it up so people could do what they wanted when they wanted?
Yeah. Well, first on that, whether it won't really affect us. Of course, if our recruiters can't make deals, then that will affect the business. But you're right. Our overhead is not so much of a concern in that sense. Look, we really, like everyone says, we built it from the ground up, but we really did. It wasn't just about just paying someone a commission. Like, for example, I'm aware of another agency here in town where they just pay a straight commission of 70%. But the platform wasn't really designed to support the incoming agent. It was just go and do your deals, and we'll keep 30% for managing the invoicing or whatever, or using our recruitment license. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to really design everything from all our apps. I mean, you can do your entire job on your mobile phone. In fact, I've been on Mount Everest with my phone. There's no running water or toilets, but they had internet for some reason. And I was able to do my work. Everything speaks to each other. All the apps, we have, all the things like Slack and all those type of team communication apps, our database and marketing pitch documents, all of that kind of thing. It's all available on our platform. And I'm always trying to think, what's the best thing we can use here? How can we make the process more efficient? How can we remove some steps? How can we get this app and this app talking with each other so there's less for people to do? And then my job really is to go out and make sure we're, in terms of our branding and our marketing and all of that kind of stuff. And I've got some great ideas that you've shared with me that have been really useful as well. And how to really make sure the brand is opening doors, the brand is seen as credible. Make sure all of that is in place and always improving. Look, our compensation plan is great. I think a deal with us is worth 2 or 3 deals anywhere else. I'll even tell you, we start at 70% and up to 90% commission, and the stock for every single person. Everyone's a partner in the business. Whereas most firms kind of operate under this idea of, well, how little can I pay my guys and still keep them? I wanted to flip that around. How much can I pay them and still be a profitable business? And what started as an interesting experiment has really proven to be a great success. And our whole purpose for being really is to be a platform through which our people can create the life that they want, so they can achieve their own goals in life. And it's really the overarching why, the overarching purpose of why this company exists. the culture here, I think, is why people stay. It's the money is the obvious bit, but that's not, I don't think, it's not why people ultimately decide to join us. It's certainly not why they stay. The culture, it's our DNA. I mean, you could copy our comp plan tomorrow. It's just numbers, but our culture is really powerful. I mean, you've genuinely got, it's hard to find too many places where 31 consultants, 31 people genuinely like each other, genuinely are excited about each other's success, helping each other without any expectation of kickbacks or any of that. It's really, really great. And we have no,
One thing though, like I've spoken to some people that have got 100% remote models, so they've got no office, they've got no space. I think, this is just my opinion, right? I've been working in a semi-remote basis, so we've had about 50% of our teams always out and 50% in the office, and it's been tricky at times, but it's worked. I can see now, post COVID-19, the dynamics of how recruitment agencies work changing. So not all of them. Some of them are going to go straight back to where they were, and good on them. Others are going to go, not spending that much money on an office. But I think jumping to 100% remote for a lot of people will be difficult, because actually some of your staff won't want that either. You showed me around your hub last time. You had like this place. It looks slick. You had like iPads and all these things set up for people. Like, talk us through how you set up this place where people can work but don't have to.
Yeah, so exactly to that point. I'm a believer in that. Look, recruitment is a thing you do. It's not necessarily a place you have to sit. But like you, I want to create there is a central hub where people can come and congregate. Yes, we can talk like this on video, and we find excuses to get together off site. But I wanted to create a really cool office space where there isn't a seat for everyone. About our current office space, we're actually looking to move. I'd like to have enough seating for about 50% of people, because even if we had 100% seating, it's half empty most of the time, because we've got people who come in every day, 10 hours a day, and we have people who come in twice a week in the afternoon, once a week, once a month. We have one guy lives in London, one guy lives in Scotland, but they're both working the Japan market because they were ex-Japan market. So it was nice when they left Japan to go home. They didn't have to, I guess, throw away that entire network they'd spent years investing in. They could still work. And the Japanese market, we've got clients at 35, 50%, even 60% commission, which is quite crazy. So it's a very good market for recruiting in. But yeah, so I will always want to have some kind of office. And as I mentioned earlier, we're hoping to launch in Australia, and there will be a small office. I think a place where people can come in and speak face to face. But it is really, I want to give people the option. They can come in or they can work from wherever they want. But there is a place where they can physically connect if they so choose.
How do you manage to make sure they're not all going to be in? How are you going to, have you got any kind of system around understanding when people are in and when they're not and that kind of stuff?
Not really. We do have the current office is getting a bit small because we've grown quite quickly recently. So we're looking for a new place that is going to be bigger. But we do currently have this seating app. It's a pretty cool little app. And funnily enough, it's called Robin. I didn't choose it because of that, but it is called Robin. Or Robin. Robin. Yeah, Robin. I think it's robinpowered.com or something. You can look at the URL. But it's pretty cool. They draw up your floor plan and people just reserve a seat. But, again, it's only an issue if we were full every day, and we're not. So until we reach that point, such an app doesn't really matter. People seem to have a routine, and I do my best to, if you can imagine someone joining us, they've been a full-time recruiter, even a senior recruiter at a normal, traditional recruitment firm, getting a salary, etc. There's a transition that's necessary. And, while people have the freedom to do what they want, unfortunately, they have the freedom to do what they want. And sometimes that means watching Netflix or not doing anything. They have the freedom to procrastinate as well. So it takes a bit of discipline to do well. And I've found through trial and error with some of our original people, it's really helpful to sit down with every new person who comes on board and talk about how they're going to set up the system, how often they think they'll come in. This is what we found works really well when you're at home. This is how we connect with each other as a practice group or as a firm overall when we have our weekly and daily meetings online or face-to-face. So getting some of those things in place. And I found the biggest I guess, deciding factor in who's going to succeed in this type of model, it really comes down to mindset. You've got people, I speak to people who they earn more than enough revenue to easily and consistently to easily thrive in our system. But they have an employee mindset that would make it very difficult for them to do so. And so the mindset's really important. You've got to be entrepreneurial. I mean, it's your own business. So
I think that was the thing that I hated the most towards the end of my recruitment days, was that mindset that I had to be in the office between a certain time. And I was always there anyway. It wasn't like I wouldn't be there, but I had to be there because somebody else told me so. Do you know? I got to a point in my life where I was like, I don't want someone to tell me to be there at that time. I want to be there because I want to be there. And I remember like rushing gym sessions some days and legging it down the road to be in it just before. You couldn't even be in on time. You had to be like 10 minutes early, didn't you, really, to show face down?
Yeah. Well, I know people who, the one guy who joined us, he said at his previous company, one of these big global brands, he said he made, what was it? It's like in the last quarter or something, he billed, say in US dollars, about $300,000. It's like really, really good. He was number one or number two in terms of sales. But he did that from only meeting, I don't know what it was, I can't remember the number, 8 people or something, right? And he got in trouble because he hadn't met all the KPIs. You should have met 30 or 40 people, And this one of his colleagues was getting all this praise because she was the model of the system, and that she'd made 40 people, blah, 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 but she had no revenue. And it was insane. It was like, it was upside down. And if that was happening here, I would say to that person, wow, how did you do that? How did you make $300,000 from only meeting 8 people? That to me is pure efficiency. I mean, you're doing something right. To teach us all how to do that. Yeah. And so just numbers for numbers' sake, it doesn't make sense to me. So,
yeah. Well, what would you say what do people need to think about? So if you're going to give advice to a recruitment agency, London, Manchester, Hong Kong, wherever, that's going, after this, we're going to downsize the office and we're going to work on a ratio model where, I don't know, we've got 50% desks. What do they really need to work out before they even try and roll that out?
The company owners?
Yeah.
I think both sides have to be... The first thing that comes into play is trust. I think you've got to be able to trust your people. Because I think as soon as you are letting your people outside the office, it means you're giving access to everything. I mean, I value complete transparency and openness. So everything is available, whether you're in the office or outside the office. And that requires trust. Yes, can people abuse that? Of course they can, but they can abuse it sitting in the office. I mean, it doesn't make it, it really comes down to the people you're bringing on board. And that's why it's really important that you don't, I mean, we're famous in the market for having a zero asshole policy. I mean, that's our ZAP policy. And we turned away big billers because of it. They weren't all assholes, but some of them, they just weren't going to fit with the culture, with the team. And we just you get one wrong person in, and it really does, like a coronavirus, kind of spread throughout the organization. And so first and foremost, it's about the people, getting the right people and establishing that culture, and then valuing that trust and that transparency. That allows, I think, management to certainly to make those kind of operational decisions that are going to be necessary when you're trying to work this kind of remote structure. I think it would be very useful to make sure you're touching base regularly with the person who's working remotely. Find opportunities to speak like this, or with a practice group, with their practice team on a very regular basis, so they really feel part of what's happening. Communication. It's probably the most critical part of this. And, every company has policies, how you work functions or sectors or verticals or whatever. But I think in times like this, flexibility is really important. And it's only when you have great people can you be flexible when it's necessary. Otherwise you've got people saying, no, that's my client, or that's my area, and all of this kind of stuff. You need people who are going to, not let anyone get left behind, and are going to want to make sure that everyone is going to have opportunities to work on decent work. So that's kind of the advice I'd give from the management side of things. I would also say, really, freedom and flexibility without reward isn't really freedom at all. And just letting your people work from home whenever they want and still paying them crappy commissions, well, you're not really giving them freedom at all. I think it's got to be commensurate with, you need to understand that it's your recruiters that generate all the revenue, not just some of it, not part of it, not most of it, all of it. They generate all the revenue. And yet we seem to have settled as an industry for 30, 40%. That made sense 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It doesn't now. Not with social media, not with the advance of technology, not with these viruses, these pandemics. It's clear now that we need to be giving our recruiters who generate all our business, they need to be rewarded certainly more appropriately for the work they do. And that keeps you as a leader honest. I can only win if I help enough of my people win first. The 10 to 30% that the company keeps from each deal, it's only going to really add up if I can help a lot of them make lots of deals. So my job is to help them be as successful as quickly and as consistently as possible.
Yeah. Do you do any roles? Do you fill in any roles anymore yourself?
Yeah. So I'm still a legal recruiter, and I focus mostly on law firms. I kind of divide my time between doing my own roles, and I always want to do that. And there's just things, I've been doing this now since 2000, so literally 20 years. That's a full career. I'm 48 years old now. I started in this gig. God, what was that? So 24 years ago. I still do legal roles, but most of my time is now spent kind of trying to manage the whole operation and focus on marketing, client development, and things like that. And I do a lot of coaching. We have coaching sessions in the morning where people can come and drop in or on video as well. They don't have to participate; they can if they want. Just talking about issues that we all face. Yeah. And some of the things. I mean, I've really studied success in this business for the last 20 or so years, and I've looked at what it is. It's, you've heard of the Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, Why is it that some people just consistently really thrive, really crush it as recruiters? And I'd say most survive. And then you've got people who just fail at the business. And what is it? What separates those that are doing it differently? And I've spoken to so many recruitment leaders. I've seen this in my own organization and previous places where I worked. And I think I've uncovered some insights into what it is that really helps you thrive. And these things are even more evident given the current situation, particularly in a remote working situation. Like the saying goes, success leaves clues, right? And if you do something that's successful, if you do it, what successful people are doing, you'll have what they have.
Yeah, I've heard that line. I like that line. Success leaves.
Yeah, and it's an open secret. I mean, the people who are continually succeeding are doing things differently. I know so many highly accomplished people, credentialed people, smart, intelligent people with high integrity and ethics and great communication skills. Wonderful people, all good, who are lousy recruiters. I know many. Fortunately, not in our company, but I know many such people. So all those things, credibility, ethics, integrity, these are great things, but you need that for any business. If you don't have those things, you shouldn't be in business in the first place. And these are all traits you should certainly try to pursue and improve on a consistent basis. But I'm speaking specifically about recruitment. What makes you an effective recruiter? How do you really consistently be at the top of the leaderboard, of the sales board? And some of the things that really come to mind are, for me, it starts with belief. You've got to have the belief that it's possible, and the belief it's possible for you. And this also leads to, I won't go into my thoughts on all those things unless you probably don't have that much time, but belief, resilience, I think is critical, especially now. You can very easily retreat into this fear mentality and of what's going to go wrong and what's this client stopping or that client stopping. That's not helpful. And you've really got to be resilient. You've got to keep going. You've got to have the confidence to just, all you need to do is see the next step. You might not see the whole picture. Things like all the things we know, a sense of urgency, that ability to hustle, to get it on. You have to act. It's about taking massive action and not waiting to have all the facts. I think your ability to inspire, to persuade, by persuade, it's not a dirty word. I don't mean to trick or mislead or to strong arm people, but to inspire people to be open to something if you think it's the right thing for them to do. I have to persuade my kids to brush their teeth or to eat their vegetables. It's something I believe it's in their best interest to do. And finally, I think just to be very present. And by that, I mean, you've got to accept the situation. You've got to accept reality as it is, and not as you wish it would be or as you would like it to be. Accept it as it is. And when you do that, you become, I think, able to respond much more appropriately rather than
I think
react emotionally.
I think everything you just said there, A, yes, it's the credentials to be a good recruiter, but B, it's the credentials you need now to get through this pandemic. So
yeah, 100%.
All the people that have made it and have done really well need to tap into what it was that got them there to get through this. And this is the biggest challenge that some of us will ever face. Like, depending on how long this lasts, this could be 5 times worse or 10 times worse than the 2008 crisis. Who knows? But you can only control your own actions, right? You can only control the decisions you make on a day-to-day, how you look at the world, and how you get up and go. I'm focusing on my routine right now has gone into hyper overdrive because I'm like, I can't afford a single fucking day where I'm not on it right now. Not one, not one day.
Right.
Like, the reason I'm up every morning to do calls with people like yourself in Japan and Hong Kong, and it's because I'm like, I have to work harder than ever just to survive right now. And that's, I think everyone's mindset should be like that. Robin, thanks so much for taking the time. People are desperate for information. I think it's really promising to hear that Japan might be a cultural thing, but from an economic perspective is still strong. And you've been affected, but it's nice not to just hear a complete doom and gloom story. You know, there's positives in there, there's promise in there. Are you happy for people to reach out to you if they want to find out a bit more about anything you've talked about today?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, please do. And LinkedIn, probably LinkedIn, or go to our website, zenshoagency.com. More than happy to share any advice or any things that have worked for us in this. You know, what I do know is that the recruitment industry globally, it's a good industry, and we've got really smart people that want to succeed and want to have control of their lives. And we'll get through this like we got through every other major issue we've had over the years. And it just takes the right belief, the right action, and just keep plugging away, just keep doing it.
Massively. I love it. All right. Well, Robin, thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode. That was another really, really interesting, insightful, global vision on what's going on. And I hope you can take information from that. If you like these episodes, I ask for one thing, not money, but for you to share with someone you know. So if you've got a friend, a colleague, a competitor, anyone in the sector that you think would benefit from hearing these stories every single day, then please do. And also, if you're listening on the iTunes store, make sure you give us your rating and your comments, because we read every one, of course, but it also helps us, again, reach more people, which is what this podcast is all about. I'll be back again tomorrow with another download for you to listen to from someone around the world. In the meantime, stay safe, look after your people, and I will speak to you then.